Toilets are the backbone of our society. I use them, you use them, probably, I don't know. And you might even be using one right now. And toilets exist in the entities realm in Dead by Daylight. So today, I figured I'd go through each of the maps in the game and rank all of the toilets based on one thing. Would I shit in it? Ready? Let's go. The first thing you need to know is that there is a lore explanation as to why toilets may or may not be in the maps in DBD, and that is because every map in the game is a twisted amalgamation of the memories of survivors and killers. So the entity, being the spider demon elder god thing, has no true concept of time or space, and as such, it just does its best to approximate what an area from someone's memory looks like. It gives the maps this kind of uncanny valley thing where they're not quite normal, and it contributes to this nightmarish vibe that the developers are going for. So that's why sometimes you have areas that look pretty normal, and other times you have a mental institute that's made up of 40% bathrooms, and yet none of them have a toilet in them. Next thing that we need to go over is how this is going to work. Like I said, I'm ranking these toilets based on how likely I would be to use them if I needed to. I'm no stranger to taking the occasional dump in a questionable public restroom, but I have my limits. A few things I'm going to take into account is the ambiance of the toilet, if it affords me enough privacy, and the cleanliness of it all. For the sake of this, we're just going to assume that all of the toilets work, regardless of whether or not they plausibly could. And if there aren't any toilets, or if I wholeheartedly believe there's a better place to pinch a loaf than the map's resident toilet, then I will go ahead and suggest my alternate location. Since picking a corner in every map is going to be kind of boring, I'm going to say that I have to shit somewhere on a tile that is unique to the realm that the map is in. We are mostly going to go through each realm in order of when it was released in Dead by Daylight. So that means that the first maps that we looked at were from the Macmillan estate. And in all 5 of the maps in this realm, not a single one of them has a toilet anywhere to be found. However, Shelter Woods definitely would have a toilet right behind this door. And this is absolutely where the Skull Merchant poops. Don't get too excited though, you freaks, because they didn't model the inside of this room, so there's no toilet to rank. That being said, here's where I would poop on these maps. Moving on to the Coldwind Farm gives us our first toilet in DBD, and that comes from the Thompson house. This map is the family home of the hillbilly and his parents, and they were wealthy, so I imagine that it's going to be a pretty nice place. Oh damn. This is bad. So in the lore, the hillbilly kills his family and then eats all the animals and takes over the estate. So I think this map comes from while it's under his reign rather than his parents, because he didn't seem like the most cleanly guy. So as you'll see here, we have a few barrels of what appears to be animal viscera in the bathroom right next to the toilet. There's no toilet paper nearby, no place to wash your hands in the bathroom, but there is a kitchen nearby. So let's see what the sink situation is like over Oh damn. There are cockroaches defying gravity here. So let's take a quick inventory. Would it be pleasing to have a sit down here? No. It's going to smell like rotting flesh. But is it private? Also no. There are giant ass nasty barrels blocking the door. However, is it clean? Also no. But would I poop here? No. I think I'd instead just try to find a private little corner in the upstairs area of the house to do the deed. So the first toilet in DBD, and we're off to a pretty rocky start. But anyway, here's where I would go in all the other Coldwind Farm maps. Autohaven Wreckers and Crotus Pren Asylum don't have any toilets. Here's where I would poop on all of these maps. The next map that came to Dead by Daylight is Lambkin Lane from Haddonfield, and it is enough to make a grown man cry, let me tell you. Based on map RNG, you can have anywhere from 1 to 3 toilets. The guaranteed toilet is in the Myers house, and it isn't accessible from the outside. However, thanks to Miss Sally Smithson here, we can see what the inside looks like. Yep, that's a bathroom, alright. It's got a toilet and a sink. It's private. It doesn't seem too grimy or anything. So as long as I could just... I think I'd be pretty happy to poop there. The other toilet that this map can spawn comes in one of the corner houses, and it's the same whether or not it spawns in either or both houses. And this bathroom is just fantastic. There are 2 doors that are still attached to the hinges, offering a bit of privacy. However, there is a gaping hole in the wall right across from the toilet, so there's a chance of a total creep just... Aside from that, this is the perfect bathroom. Ample toilet paper, a working sink, and a scale right next to the toilet so you can get your before and after weight. If you're into that, is that something that normal people do? Or just me? It's hard to say which one I would rather poop in, the one with more amenities and space, but lacks a little bit of privacy, or the one with privacy, but it's a little bit cramped. I think I would pick the private one, but it's pretty damn close. So in case it wasn't clear, that is 2 yeses on the board for both of these toilets. There aren't any toilets in the swamp maps, but there is a lot of tall grass you could squat in with no problem, so I'd probably pick the poop deck of the Pale Rose and the tall grass near the Pog Log for the Grim Pantry. Treatment Theater also has no toilets. I don't know why, because there are 16 rooms on the map, 6 of them are bathrooms. There's even signage that indicates that they're co-ed bathrooms, but no toilets. For the sake of privacy, I'd probably pick a corner in the upstairs area where people rarely pass. The next few maps don't have anywhere to take a civilized shit, so I just go here, here, and here. But Gideon's meat plant gives us our next toilet in Dead by Daylight. There are a few urinals, which I guess I'd use, but that's not the focus of this video. Of the 2 toilets on the map, one has been smashed to smithereens, and the other is right next to a couple of dead bodies, and there's like a little poop heart that's been smeared on it. It's not great, not at all. Plus, there's not a lot of privacy because the door's wide open, there could be the garage open if the generator's finished, and there's also a hole in the ceiling, so you could be pooping, then suddenly, holy shit, there's a person raining out of the sky. So would I poop in the Gideon's meat plant toilet? Hell no, there are corpses and the complete lack of privacy. I'd probably just poop like behind Amanda's bed just because I think it'd be funny. For the family residence, I'd just poop in the corner of this house for privacy, and then for the Sanctum of Wrath, I would pick a bush with all the weird statues looking straight at me. Mount Ormond also has no toilets, so just like a secluded area in the ski resort, and then maybe climb up this ladder and try to go way up here where nobody will see me, if they don't look up at least. For the underground complex, I guess I just pick one of the offices upstairs. There's a dead body right behind me, that's not my concern. The Dead Dog Saloon doesn't have any toilets, but they have these shed-like things that I think could possibly be outhouses. However, there is a spot for a padlock on the front of it, so you could be locked in there. And the insides aren't modeled as if they were outhouses. Like, they have the shelf that you can sit on, but there's no hole in there to poop in. So it might just be like standard sheds that are shaped like outhouses. For the sake of this video needing more toilets to rate, we'll just assume that they are places to poop. In which case, sure, why the hell not? They're in corners of the map, so there's a little bit of privacy, and you don't hear flies buzzing around them, so it can't be all that bad. Next up was Midwich Elementary, which I know has a bathroom, so maybe there will be some toilets to go. Oh. Well, that's an interesting place to poop. We've got the weird Silent Hill fleshy goop stuff that's enveloping this toilet. I'd be pooping at like a 30-degree angle, which would definitely be a unique experience. But I think out of cleanliness and privacy concerns and concern for whatever the hell this stuff is, I'm going to say no to this toilet and see if there's another one somewhere else on the map. Moving on to the bathrooms, there are a few stalls that are closed. One has a woman who seems to be going through it. But upstairs, there's one toilet in an open stall. There's no door on this stall, and it is right next to the open bathroom door, so it's definitely not a private place to poop. However, regardless of the lack of privacy, if I were to go to literally any other place in an elementary school and pull down my pants and take a shit, and if I were to get caught, I would then be legally required to go tell all of my neighbors a new fun fact about myself. So, that being said, I'm going to say that the Midwich bathroom is by far the best and only place to poop in this realm. RPD East is the next map with toilets and DBD. RPD West doesn't have any, so I would probably just pull the curtain shut and poop in the shower. The men's bathroom on the east wing has 4 toilets in it. One of them is flooding horrendously, meaning that pooping in there would probably mean it just... The other 3 seem like they'd be pretty viable options though. They all have stall doors that close, and just like the Haddonfield one, they have a stock of toilet paper, which is apparently a very hot commodity in the entity's realm, because it's just these 2 maps are the only ones with toilet paper. So yeah, very viable poop locations. This one is my favorite toilet since it's the furthest away from the flood, then this one because it doesn't have a totem in the way, and then the totem one, and then 4th place is the flooded one. There's also a women's bathroom, and I went to check if there are any toilets modeled in there, and I accidentally blinked into the void, and I can definitively say after that there are no toilets modeled in the women's bathroom. Moving on. The Forsaken Boneyard was the next realm introduced to Dead by Daylight. No toilets there, so I'd poop here on Eyrie of Crows and here in the Dead Sands map. Garden of Joy also has no toilets, though there is an unmodeled bathroom on the map. Aside from that bathroom, I would go here. This is where I would poop in the Shattered Square, assuming I could reach it. And the Forgotten Ruins, I couldn't pick just one, so I picked 3. Either far off in this part of the dungeon where I probably wouldn't be noticed, in a little nook in Vecna's study right next to his Book of Death, or I just stick my ass in a portal to see what happens. For Toba Landing, I guess I would just crawl into this vehicle. I assume I'd be right next to a dead body that was driving it, but you know, c'est la vie. And in the Nostromo wreckage, I would put on a spacesuit and just shit in that because I think that's how spacesuits work, right? Finally, let's go back to the Withered Isle just to round off this video. The Greenville Square has an interesting bathroom. It's co-ed, but there are also urinals. I just kind of find that odd. The toilets are all enclosed stalls, so you can't see them unless you... But they seem fine. There's not a whole lot of activity in that area of the map because it's so out of the way for killers, and there's no good loops that involve going through this bathroom for survivors, so I think this is a pretty private, I may even say calm place to take a poop. It's gotta be the best public restroom in DBD for sure. And our final stop of this crappy journey is Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Once again, co-ed bathroom with urinals, weird but whatever. This one has 3 potentially shittable toilets. The first one has an entire slice of pizza in it. Okay, I'd really like to know the lore behind this one. But anyway, the second one is behind a closed door, so you have to blink through it to see it. It looks fine, but I can notice 2 glaring issues. One, you're sharing a stall with the entity goopy stuff, which is kind of gross. And second, the entity goopy stuff causes a hole in the wall, so any shithead kid could just easily peek through that hole and look at your butt. But this third stall is really interesting. You have an out of order sign and a whole lot of blood coming out of the stall. And when I blinked through it, I thought there was no toilet in there, but there is. It's just absolutely smothered in blood. I'm talking about more blood than what I presumed was even in the human body, much less a child's body because it was a child victim. I know this for sure because when you stand near this stall specifically, you can hear children's laughter. So anyway, this one, yeah, I'll poop on the pizza, sure. This one's a little less favorable because I don't want people peeking at my butt. And this one gets a hell no because it is actively being haunted and it is also caked in blood. So yeah, so if I were to rank all of the toilets in Dead by Daylight, third place would be this one on Haddonfield. I think it's got everything that you need. It's got toilet paper, it's got a scale, it's clean, it's got doors that you can close. However, there is a big gaping hole, so people can see you if they try to look for you. That's its only downside. Second place would be the ones in the Greenville Square. It's a public restroom, however, it offers a lot of privacy. It's out of the way. It seems like it's kept pretty clean. I would be totally fine shitting in here, although it feels like a very safe option, you know? And my number 1 toilet in Dead by Daylight would be the one in the Myers house in Haddonfield. I know that pooping here means that I am pooping on the toilet in which the child version of a very heinous murderer pooped. However, it's very private and it's very secure. You're not going to be seen there. You could even hide from the killer in there if you could, squeeze through it. But I think this is my favorite toilet in Dead by Daylight from like a poopability factor. Bottom 3, you have the one from Gideon's meat plant. It's gross. There's dead bodies. There's not a whole lot of privacy. Then you have the Thompson house, which is one of the most disgusting things that is in the entire game of Dead by Daylight. However, the worst one would be the one from Freddy Fazbear's Pizza because it is haunted and it is covered in blood. I do not want my butt cheeks touching that blood. But anyway, I hope this was a very fulfilling video for you guys and a good use of your past 15 minutes. If you think so, maybe consider hitting that like button and subscribing. My name is freaking Nick. I like to make a bunch of Dead by Daylight content on anything aside from the gameplay, so if that interests you, stick around. I'll catch you later.